In the early 1900s, Tulsa, Oklahoma was divided into two parts, North Tulsa and South Tulsa. The towns were segregated. South Tulsa is where the whites lived, and Greenwood, Oklahoma, aka North Tulsa, more commonly known as Black Wall Street, was an African American paradise. But on June 1st, 1921, it would forever be remembered as a day of great loss and devastation. It was on this day that America experienced the deadliest race riot in the small town of Tulsa, Oklahoma. 99 years later, that neighborhood is still recognized as one of the most prosperous African American towns to date. With hundreds of successful Black-owned businesses lining Greenwood Avenue, it became a standard that African Americans are still trying to rebuild. The attack that took place in 1921 tore the community apart, claiming hundreds of lives and sending the once prosperous neighborhood up in smoke. In the early 1900s, Tulsa, Oklahoma experienced a major oil boom, attracting thousands. Many African Americans migrated from the southern states, hoping to escape the harsh racial tensions while profiting off of the oil industry. Yet, even in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jim Crow laws were at large, causing the town to be vastly segregated, with most African Americans settling in the northern section of the town. From that segregation grew a Black entrepreneurial mecca that would affectionately be called Black Wall Street. The town was established in 1906 by entrepreneur O.W. Gurley, and by 1921, there were over 11,000 residents and hundreds of prosperous businesses, all owned and operated by Black Tulsans and patronized by both whites and Blacks. One of the most prominent entrepreneurs was Lola T. Williams, who owned the Dreamland Theater and a small chain across Oklahoma. The theater seated close to 1,000 people for live musicals, films, and more. This was only one of 4 theaters in the area. Not too far from Mrs. Williams Theater was the Stratford Hotel on Greenwood Avenue, owned by J.B. Stratford. It was one of the largest and most successful Black-owned hotels at the time.
J.B. Stratford arrived in Tulsa via railroad in 1898 with his wife, Augusta. J.B. was the son of a former Versailles, Kentucky slave who had been named Caesar by his slave owner. During Caesar's time in slavery, his owner's daughter befriended him and taught him to read. By 1863, Caesar was reading well. He read about the Emancipation Proclamation and petitioned his owner for his freedom. While on travel from Woodford County, Kentucky to Stratford, Ontario, the owner granted Caesar his freedom. Caesar gave himself the last name Stratford after the city in Ontario, changing the T in Stratford to a D. Caesar worked and saved his money. Returning to Kentucky, Caesar passed the lessons he learned on to his family. He executed his plan, liberating his family from slavery and giving them a proper last name. Caesar's firstborn, J.B. Stratford, reinvested in his father's vision and name to become an Indiana University-trained attorney. J.B.'s interests ranged from social justice and racial solidarity to real estate development, which he applied to an influx of Black Americans streaming into the Indian Territory. The J.B. Stratford empire was comprised of real estate income from 24 rental properties worth nearly $2 million. Buying up large tracts of undeveloped land northeast of the tracts that bordered downtown, 39-year-old J.B. Stratford sold his Greenwood parcels to Blacks only. O.W. Gurley, The acknowledged founder of the new community did the same as Black Tulsa took shape. He subscribed to the belief that they had the best chance at economic success by pooling their resources and supporting one another's businesses. Yet Stratford was not a real estate man by trade. He was a University of Indiana educated attorney who used his investment profits to aggressively litigate for Black social justice. He built the Stratford Hotel at 301 North Greenwood, and it was his crown jewel. Stratford decided it was time that Black travelers of means should have accommodations as swank as downtown's Hotel Tulsa. He envisioned his hotel as the pinnacle of his dreams, remarking, "The Stratford would be a monument to the thrift, energy, and business tact of the race in Tulsa, and to the race in the state of Oklahoma." The exuberant opening of his eponymous hotel on June 1st, 1918, signified the realization of his promised land, adding credence to Booker T. Washington's description of this district as Black Wall Street. The three-story edifice of pressed brick above the windows and stone slabs below cost a glitzy $50,000. The cost at that time was the equivalent of $718,000. At the time, it was the largest Black-owned, Black-operated, and Black guest-only hotel in America. The structure housed 54 modern living rooms, a gambling hall, dining room, saloon, and pool hall. Jazz from the Stratford Hotel and the Commodore Cotton Club across the street filled Greenwood residents with the joy of the freedom to dance and play without repercussions. Much of Tulsa's white community disapproved. They also disapproved of J.B. Stratford, who litigated against the railroad for not providing proper Black accommodations. He stirred the pot regarding illegal segregation and publicly rallied against Oklahoma's Jim Crow law.